Storytelling takes skill. If you want to entertain and enthrall an audience, an author has to make certain choices about structure and details that will keep a reader's or audience's attention. One structure an author might choose is a frame structure, or what we commonly call a story within a story. This is where a character in the story becomes a narrator of another story. An author can use this device for various purposes. So when you hear or read a frame story, you have to think about why the author chose this particular way of telling the story. A great example of this structure is the story The Princess Bride. If you have read it or seen the movie, you know the grandfather comes to read a story to his sick grandson. They exist in a modern setting, and the story he reads to his grandson is a fairy tale. Romantic, action-packed, typical good versus evil. This structure lends itself to humor and relatability in the story, and it really works effectively. Another frame story is The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County by Mark Twain. Twain is known for his humor, and the structure really emphasizes the irony he creates between the narrator and the main character of the tale that is being told. The narrator of this story has been set up by a so-called friend to ask a certain man about another man. The narrator gets sucked into a long-winded tale about a betting man with a frog that was set up to lose by a stranger. The parallel circumstances in the frame structure add another level of humor and cleverness to the story for the reader to discover. Probably one of the most famous frame stories, although it is sometimes forgotten as a frame story, is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. The story's narrator, Robert Walton, is a scientist on his way to the North Pole when he discovers Victor Frankenstein. Walton nurses him back to life, and Frankenstein then tells his story of the creation of his monster within the story as a cautionary tale to Walton. Even within Frankenstein's story, there is the monster story. This frame creates parallel characters, Walton, Frankenstein, and the monster, and the structure allows the reader to see each one from a different point of view. Walton is ultimately redeemed by Frankenstein's story, gaining friendship and humanity, sacrificing his formal, unbridled scientific ambition and embracing Victor, his creation, with empathy and understanding. Victor remains a victim of his own ambition and ego, rejecting his own creation as monstrous. Frankenstein's creation is seen as a monster, ultimately rejected and destroyed. The frame structure helps draw attention to all of their similarities and differences. As you read, look for frame structures and see how an author uses this strategy to clue the reader in to some specific purpose. It's definitely not an accident.